We have a great program in New York on March 15th, and we'll have many great speakers, and Micheál Martin will be out, and some people in this room feel Micheál Martin may win the next election for Taoiseach in Ireland. So it's a great conference, many economic people, and all of that. We also have our work experience scholarships for the students to come to America, and we put them up, and they work for American corporations up to council members' corporations. Now, I'd like to welcome Bill Finneran up here, and Bill is going to introduce Brian Burns. Here comes Bill.
Knocking the C students, awful. You know, I did run the campaign in Villanova, and I found out that 95% of the funds that we raised came from the C students, for your information. You know, the A students went on to teach. I don't know what happened to the B students, but the C students went to work. It's just with a great pleasure that I can't read my own writing here, excuse me, C stood. I hope you can all join me that being the next ambassador to Ireland, it's an honor to introduce Brian. He's going to be deeply involved in shaping the direction of the relations between the United States and Ireland. And at this time, you know, it's being a close friend of the President Trump, where the tax structures of the different countries are really becoming national and international between Europe and the United States. Brian is the right guy. He's a brilliant lawyer, a businessman, a philanthropist. That came out wrong. Got the best, or as President Trump would say, the best Irish art collection in the world. He's got the most beautiful wife, and they reside around the corner from me here in Palm Beach. And I couldn't be more of a pleasure than to introduce our next ambassador, Brian Burns.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exquisite pleasure and joy. I think of that expression being introduced by Bill Finneran 2 nights in a row. The old expression, ain't I the lucky guy? Anyway, I'm really honored to be here. Few of you people know how the American Island Organization came to be. It so happened that it was formed in the spring of 1963 by the great Eamon de Valera, the first president of Ireland, and by our timeless president, John F. Kennedy. And there were 2 organizations, one called the American Island Fund, in which I was lucky enough to be the youngest director, the other being the Island Fund that came out of Pittsburgh with Dan Rooney of the Steelers and Sir Anthony J.F. O'Reilly of the Heinz Corporation. I have a lot of older brothers who are constantly lecturing to me, and I finally said to them, I'll tell you what, we're not going to put up with this pile of invitations from both these organizations many times on the same night. So I determined that I was going to put them together. Now, few people know that I'm a lawyer, and most of my profession has been in mergers, acquisitions, and occasionally proxy fights, which I generally try to smooth out and make them into pleasant alliances. But we started to work on that, and I used my daughter, young Sheila, to be my paralegal. And, you know, since no money was at stake, people fight harder than ever. If you've got money at stake, people are pretty rational, but with egos, who knows? So we got it done, and I have to really salute someone here, one of my dearest friends. That's Bill McNally. He was the executive director of the Island Fund, and we couldn't have got it done without Bill's help. And it so happened that the merger agreement was signed at the Irish Embassy on St. Patrick's Day in 1986 by President Ronald Wilson Reagan. And it's been a momentous event because at the time, nobody celebrates great events or small ones than the Irish. They go out and paint St. Patrick, Fifth Avenue green, and they really know how to celebrate. But I've noticed, and it was a source of discontent with me, that they didn't seem to raise any money for Ireland. So maybe up to half a glass of Guinness would be the sum and substance of all of their fundraising activities. I said enough of that, and I am very proud to say that in the 25 years since then, the American Ireland Fund has raised over $550 million for peace, culture, and charity in Ireland. And that is extraordinary, and I never could have done it without my help of really Jewish wise men in New York. And I always used to wonder with amazement, there's only 6 million Jewish people in the United States. They raise billions every year. And the Irish have 45 million in the Irish diaspora, and they didn't raise too much, but I'm so proud, and I see John Fitzpatrick is here, the head of the American Ireland Fund. I hope that they will always remember that it had presidential origins. 2 presidents, President De Valera and President John F. Kennedy. Sometimes they forget that, and they keep rooted in their heart with the Steelers and Sir Anthony J.F. O'Reilly. But I thought, in this august group, I might tell you a little bit about myself and my dear wife, Eileen, who comes from Mullingar in Westmeath. So her Irish roots are well embedded, and are very honored. So I happen to be a grandson of an Irish immigrant from a little town called Sneem in County Kerry. And I should say that I had somewhat of a checkered academic career, mostly on the disciplinary side. And I went to Holy Cross College and then to Harvard Law School, where I graduated, I guess, at a relatively young age of 23. And I just determined that my father, having been an astonishing achiever, the youngest judge in the history of Massachusetts at the age of 29, and the youngest Irish Catholic at the Harvard Law School. So I've determined, because my dad left us with a little flame burning inside each of his 7 children, that I was not going to waste any time, and I've determined to get going, because our time here on earth is very short indeed. So I have made it my life's work to do as much good work in Ireland. I have done, I don't want to sound too robust or self-satisfied, but I've done special things in the little town in County Kerry in memory of my father. I have, many of you people know that I ran the Fulbright program during the Clinton years under Ambassador Gene Kennedy Smith, who is the last of the great tribe of Ambassador Joseph P. Kennedy and Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy. And Eileen and I made it a pledge about 40 years ago. We were going to start collecting Irish art. Now at the time, and maybe still today, few people had ever heard about Irish art. In fact, one wise guy in Ireland said, well, Brian, do you have any avocations? I said, yes, I do. I've grown rather fond of Irish art. The fellow looked at me, kind of sneered, and said, well, you must be in the whiskey and the horse business. Well, little did he know, it's been one of the greatest investments of our lives. We have now about 175 pictures. Our house may have only one picture that wasn't brought home from Ireland, and it's been a source of unmitigated joy for Eileen and me to make the display of Irish art here in America. We were, in fact, the first American ever to bring Irish art back to Ireland. And when we did, who did we encounter but my dear friend Mary Robinson, the first woman president of Ireland, and she knew more about me than I did. talking about the Burns Library, which I established at Boston College, which is the first building on the right as you enter the campus. And I did that with my siblings. And so we brought them first to the Hugh Lane Municipal Gallery of Dublin, excuse me. And then we have been to the Paul Mellon Gallery at Yale University. And we had a glorious, huge exhibition at the Kennedy Center for the Arts at the Millennium. It was titled The Millennium Celebration, Arts from Ireland. So that part of our life has been extremely fulfilling. And fortunately, I've been able to interest our children and now some of our grandchildren in Irish art. I recommend to all of you, it's a hidden treasure. If you're able to buy Irish art, I tell you, please do. It's a real hidden treasure, and the values, I think, will only increase. Now, I probably should mention the fact that I've been appointed the ambassador to Ireland. I have to be somewhat chary because I'm not confirmed yet. However, I work both sides of the aisle in Washington, and I'm not anticipating any serious problems. I think I'll use Bill Finneran as my principal reference, so that should abate some of the criticisms that come up. And we've got a lot of problems in Ireland, but a huge amount of opportunities. Many of you know Brexit and the withdrawal of England from the European Union. Recently, there's a few people here that would know that the government in Northern Ireland collapsed. There's talk about putting up a border between Northern and Southern Ireland, and that would be very frustrating to Eileen and me. We worked 25 years on the peace process. I don't want to claim too much credit because, as President Kennedy said in his timeless phrase, success has 1,000 fathers, failure is an orphan. But I think Ireland has the lowest tax rate in Europe, and many of the other countries are complaining and cavilling, why don't they raise their tax rates? Well, they're not going to. And very few people know, Bill Finneran mentioned it, but Eileen and I have a very close personal friendship with President Trump. The people of Ireland, we read the Irish papers from time to time, and I see nothing but criticism of President Trump. That's a huge error. I've told them in a gentle way, for God's sakes, he's only been in office less than 30 days. Why not look at him after 6 months or a year and then judge him on his actual performance? People will be mildly astonished. President Trump is going to be so great for Ireland. He's going to be very generous on the admission of Irish people. My friend Senator Ted Kennedy once told me, Brian, you better get behind this immigration bill because you got about 900,000 of your aunts and uncles over there in Queens that are undocumented. I intend to work on that, and I'm sure Eileen will be a significant part of it. I don't want to go on too much because this is a very distinguished crowd. I want you to know that we will work with might and main to be sure that the nation of Ireland and our people, many of my relatives are still there, they will be judged fairly and their interests will be increased and protected by myself and my dear wife Eileen. And I just want you to assure you that I anticipate being confirmed very soon, and we are going to reside in a magnificent Georgian estate called Deerfield. And some of you historians may know that Winston Churchill spent some of his early years when his father, Lord Randolph Churchill, was the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. Many of us never cottoned to the idea of any lordships in Ireland particularly, and we'll just see. We've already raised, I think, over $1 million with the help of Turlough and also Kieran McLaughlin for the American Ireland Fund, and that'll be helpful. We have a world-class decorator, and we're not telling him how much money he raised because, as Edward Bennett Williams, my friend, said, I gave him an unlimited budget and he exceeded it. So you've been very kind and generous to welcome Eileen and me here, and we are happy and honored beyond all words. So I'd like to bid you adieu, and as they say in Ireland, Céad Míle Fáilte. 100,000 welcomes to all of you. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a great speaker, huh? Fantastic, Brian. And Bill, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our lunch.